You done now?
Body? Oh, you must be Mr. Green.
Yeah.
Sit! No, not you, sir.
It should be just off there.
That must be it.
Why is the car stopped?
It's frightened.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Clue the Movie podcast, where we look at the cult classic 1985 film Clue the Movie 1 minute at a time. We are up to minute 9 of 97, and we got ways to go, Jeff Smith. My name is Brad Gilmore. I'm joined by the Clue documentarian, ClueDoc.com, Jeff Smith. And Jeff, we are at minute at 9. This one continues the introduction of the character of Mr. Green, as portrayed by Michael McKean, and it ends with the characters of Miss Scarlet and Professor Plum beginning to get out of their vehicle to enter the scary, haunted house. Let's start with Michael McKean. First thoughts of the minute. Let me ask you that. What are your first thoughts of the minute?
Let's see. You know what? The minute's really good because it really feels like they take a few seconds to really make it feel like an Agatha Christie kind of. I mean, it stops and shows there's a long shot of everybody in the room together where they're kind of looking out the windows, the lighting, it's outside. It's that noise that it doesn't sound like real thunder anywhere, but it's definitely movie thunder that happens right when it hits. And they just kind of take a moment and that way we get to take a moment to like soak that in. We don't know really anything about Mr. Green. He didn't get any kind of introduction to anybody. He's just, you must be Mr. Green. He is nervous, and that's it.
So
that's
the Mr. Green intro, okay, he's there at the door talking to Wadsworth, and Wadsworth says, "Sit," talking to the dogs, of course. Mr. Green sits down. I actually picked up on two, really, I think. One might be very subliminal and I'm reading into it. The other one might, or definitely is, speaking to the character of Mr. Green. He's kind of the, when Wadsworth says sit, Mr. Green's kind of the, I wouldn't say, is submissive the right word? No. He's kind of the one of the group who doesn't seem to go against authority too much. He seems to be in line with whatever's asked of me, I shall do, which we see that character trait there, and he's portraying, we've come to find out he's portraying a character, as they all are, but he's very much portraying a character here as Mr. Green. But is it a small allusion to, since he listens to commands, that maybe we think that he's, one that deals with authority?
It's quite possible if he's used to getting yelled at. I mean, in any ending, he works for the government. That is established in the dining room. But in the third inning, we find out he's in the FBI. Yeah, certainly he would be. I've never even thought about that, but I like the way you think, Brad Gilmore.
What?
Pretty good.
Thank you. And here's the other thing. Every character thus far of the main six, of the six game, we'll call them game piece characters.
Okay.
Of the six game piece characters that we've met, whether that be Mrs. White, Colonel Mustard, or Mrs. Peacock. Mm-hmm. The three of them all have a strong or at least take notice of Yvette, right? Mm. We talked about Mrs. White. I see you know each other, right?
Right.
And then Colonel Mustard takes a peek, and then as does Mrs. Peacock. Yeah. They all take a gander. Mr. Green does not even break eye contact with Yvette, not even a little bit.
more focused on the drink that he's being served.
Very focused on it. Am
Yeah.
I reading too much into?
Probably not, because again, depending on the ending, he's homosexual in the first two.
Mhm.
The third, he's married to a wife, but he's also like heavily in character and on duty, and apparently a good FBI guy. So I'm sure throughout he's playing that as, don't, either it's genuinely him or he's playing it as don't give it away. You just told everybody you were gay. To the point where when they want to split up into pairs, he does not want to go off with Yvette.
Right.
Maybe you can read into that one that there's multiple reasons why he's like, don't go off with her.
Oh.
Be totally against it. Be against it.
Oh, it's very interesting. Now, Michael McKean is somebody who you got to talk to for the doc.
Yes.
We love him from This Is Spinal Tap, from so many things that he's been on. Been in Curb Your Enthusiasm, and I mean, you could go look at his IMDb credits and just be amazed by everything that he's been in. To this point, what was he in? Like, what brought him to Clue?
He was best known. He was on Laverne and Shirley, which was huge in the early 80s.
And that was a spinoff of Happy Days, right?
Happy Days, yeah. And so before that, he had been in a comedy group called The Credibility Gap with David Lander, who eventually was on. They played Lenny and Squiggy. Michael McKean was Lenny, and David Lander was Squiggy. Also in The Credibility Gap was Harry Shearer, who eventually they would form Spinal Tap, the band, which also is Spinal Tap, the movie, but it's a band. And so he had done Laverne and Shirley, basically. That's what everybody knew him from. But I think Jonathan Lynn, director of Clue, saw him in Spinal Tap, which is so strange because Spinal Tap, very different muscles for Michael McKean as an actor to use. That movie's entirely improvised. There's an outline, but the whole movie is improvised. And he's playing, aging heavy metal rock star from Britain. How he got Mr. Green from that, I don't know. But how did Christopher Lloyd play Doc Brown and Professor Plum in the same year? It's professional actors, I guess.
They know what they're doing. They know that they can disappear in the role. But again, an accomplished comedic actor in his own right. I mean, especially on a sitcom, and it was a little bit more. I think you had to be a lot sharper to be on a sitcom in the 80s. Really from the onset through probably the 90s, you had to be a very talented comedic actor to really pull off some of the dialogue in a sitcom, especially post I Love Lucy, where they have the multicam sitcom and you're working in front of the audience, really only having a couple shots at it on a tape night. You have to be a strong actor, and it really is like a play. A sitcom, the way they shoot them is very play-like, with a little bit more breaks, obviously, and you can redo it, but it's very play-like. And Michael McKean in this film, I think that definitely adds to his resume and his repertoire, if you will.
I will. Yeah, I mean, that's during that same time, that's when Robin Williams was on Mork and Mindy and became Robin Williams because of that. So that was all that time of TV.
Mork and Mindy.
Speaking of which, my TV just turned on by itself when I said TV, and I don't have Alexa.
Well, look at that. Speaking of, though, Mork and Mindy and Laverne and Shirley, to my knowledge, because this is a little bit before my time, but I believe they're both Happy Days spinoffs, Mork and Mindy and Laverne and Shirley. How many spinoffs did Happy Days have?
Happy Days.
Joni Loves Chachi.
That's right. Happy Days actually was a spinoff of a show called Love American Style, which was kind of like a sketch kind of comedy show, and Happy Days was one of the sketches. That became the show. Then Laverne and Shirley, Joni Loves Chachi. Did anybody else get one?
Mork and Mindy.
Mork and Mindy, yeah.
That might be it.
They might have talked about Carmine on Laverne and Shirley getting his own show, but he didn't. Yeah, that's it. But that's a lot.
That's a lot for one show.
Yeah,
to
you
have
don't really
that
hear
many
about spinoffs anymore unless it's maybe a continuation like Better Call Saul.
Where I'm trying to see. Oh, wait, there are 7 Happy Days spinoffs.
There was a cartoon.
So there's Happy Days, Laverne and Shirley, Mork and Mindy, Joni Loves Chachi, Blansky's Beauties, Out of the Blue, the Fonz and the Happy Days Gang, and the Mork and Mindy, Laverne and Shirley Fonz Hour. Well, I don't know about that last one.
Those are cartoons too.
Yeah, okay, those are all cartoons at the end.
Yeah.
But there you go. What a franchise.
Gary Marshall was doing very well for himself.
Yeah.
Back then.
Gary Marshall, man. Okay, so going back to, we have Michael McKean, Mr. Green, the submissive Mr. Green, and then we start to see the storm growing as Professor Plum and Miss Scarlet approach it, and you get the big wide shot, which I love, of the matte painting.
Yeah.
With the
yeah. One of my favorite jokes in the whole movie is why is the car stopped? It's frightened. And not a lot of people, the screenings that I've been to of Clue, I like just look around like, here we go, everybody. I know you're gonna be just like me. And they kind of go, yeah. Or just at least the ones I've been to. But I love that joke. And yeah, you definitely get the matte painting and you get the effect of lightning behind the matte painting. So
how do they do that? Is that just like, it's not computer, is it? I mean,
no, they light it up with a light. It's all because the matte painting can be, it's translucent, painted on glass. So they can put anything around it. They basically film it like they'd film an animated movie, like Snow White, same way they did Snow White back in the day, where, layers of cells are on top of each other and you're filming down. That's how they do that's how they did matte paintings back then, yeah.
Wow. Okay. So practical effects, man. You can still do them. We can still do practical.
Yeah. I think they still look better. I think even now when you watch something like Mandalorian, you can tell when something's right in front of them and when it's not.
Yeah, and I think, I don't know, us as movie-going audiences, I actually said this on the radio the other day. We were talking about, what was the movie? No, we were talking about The Incredible Hulk. She-Hulk is on Disney Plus, and it's a fine show. I like it. But the Bill Bixby Lou Ferrigno Hulk, or the Lou Ferrigno Hulk, I should say,
right.
He was actually busting through walls. He was just a guy painted greenish. At times you could see some of his skin showing through.
Yeah.
But I actually prefer that Hulk to the Hulk we get in the movies.
Sure. Yeah, I remember when I first saw the Ang Lee version of the Hulk, and he bounced across the Mojave Desert or whatever he did. He leaped in the air and he flew across the way. And it looked I don't know. It looks so fake. I don't know. Yeah, I prefer Man in Suit for sure.
Yeah, because it's in the frame. It's in the frame, and it just adds so much to it. So I love the wide shot.
Look at poor Lou Ferrigno and go, how long would they spraying it down?
Well, probably a lot less than like what they do for some of the Marvel movies, right? Like I know Drax the Destroyer takes 7 hours to apply his makeup or what have you.
That's true. They probably just use a roller on Lou Ferrigno.
They probably had a real can of spray paint. Like, this is going to be all right.
The 70s, yeah. I mean, they almost killed the original Tin Man and Wizard of Oz, but that's okay.
That's legit, right? He almost suffocated from the paint?
It was, because it wasn't Jacko, what's the name of the Tin Man? Anyways, but it was going to be Buddy Epson. It was later on the Beverly Hillbillies. And,
right, it was going to be Buddy Epson.
Yeah, and then, the paint clogged up his what are they called?
Pores?
Pores, yeah. Pores were all clogged, so he had to bow out, and they came up with a whole different paint process for the new Tin Man. So thanks for helping us get to the good Tin Man, because he looked kind of lame anyway.
Yeah, not good. I've seen production stills of that. Also, I don't know why we're talking about the Wizard of Oz, but there's like 4 directors for it, right?
Oh,
I think Victor Fleming was the eventual.
Yeah, I think he's the only one who got credit.
Yeah, but there was 4, and like 2 of them left to go work on Gone with the Wind. I don't know. It was a weird story. But we're back. I mean, look, this is in the 50s, right? Where we're watching this movie. So we're seeing Miss Scarlet and Christopher Lloyd, Professor Plum, pull up. Still don't really know who they are, but now we know the dinner party they were talking about is obvious, is the one that everybody else is at. So I think there's probably going to be more to explore in the next minute, unless you have anything that you didn't get to.
No, we're about to see Christopher Lloyd do his first creepy thing as Professor Plum.
All right. Yeah, let's really break down the nonverbal of all these characters and try to figure out.
That's true. There's a lot.
what they're telling us without telling us, because we already talked about Miss Peacock's reaction to Yvette and Mr. Green's reaction to being told sit.
Yeah.
Colonel Mustard is very surly in the way that he walks and speaks.
Yeah.
You know,
And argumentative when he said, your name's Colonel Mustard. No, that is not my name.
yeah, it's like calm down. And Mrs. White, I love though, the way each character speaks, just the way they speak, not the words that they say, but the way that they speak informs us so much about them all. I mean, look, Mrs. White, just the way that she talks, kind of the very weird, there's something else going on here. The surliness of Colonel Mustard, I don't want to say holier than thou, but the very conservative speaking of Mrs. Peacock, the creepiness of a Christopher Lloyd. Want to ride? Right, and then the seductive flirtation of a Miss Scarlet. Yeah, sure. Let's go. Let's take a ride. I mean, it's telling us a lot. We're being very well informed by all these characters in the early going. So, kudos to the direction thus far and to the actors themselves. But we have minute 10. This is a monumental minute. We're at 10 minutes in. That means we're about...
something should be happening if my Save the Cat book is accurate.
So
we need some kind of inciting incident.
It's coming. But until then, cluedoc.com for Mr. Jeff Smith. TheBoatBradGilmore.com is where you can find all my stuff. And we'll be back with minute 10 for the movie.
Oh, Brad, what have you done now?